It's nice to be with you this evening. I'm Shelley Holly, the Library Director. And since the library's been mentioned tonight, actually a couple of times, I wanted to add a couple of things to my report. One of which is robotics. I got a chance to catch the kids and let them know one of the things we have planned for the new library is a small robotics arena. And so we talked a little bit about them. We also about that with them. We also have a very flexible community commons space that may provide them with some needs. We're going to reach out and have some further discussions and see what their needs are and how the current library plan might liaison and what adjustments we can make to further meet their needs. This evening there were some concerns about the library's collection policy, and so I wanted to make sure that people were aware that as a part of the library's, you can find the library's collection policy on our website, friscolibrary.com. The very bottom footer, under About, there is a link called Service Policy. Click on that, you go to page 15, and that gives you our collection policy. So it tells you how we select, what we select, and what the rules are about policy selection. You go further down to page 34 and 35 and 36, and there are two forms. They're both called Requests for Reconsideration. The first one is for materials we do not have in the collection that citizens believe we should have in the collection. They can complete that form and submit it to us, and we will consider adding those materials to the collection if they meet our collection policy. And the second one is Request for Reconsideration of materials that are in the collection that someone may determine they would like to have us reconsider whether those materials should be in the collection or not. And so they can submit those forms. I can tell you those forms go directly to me. I have not received any for a number of years now, and so I'm not aware of any objections through the Request for Reconsideration forms. But I welcome anyone who has concerns that they please submit that form. We have a process, we have an opportunity to discuss it with anyone who may be concerned. They get an opportunity to voice their concerns, meet with the committee, and they also have the opportunity to read the selection policy and understand how the library makes its selections. A public library, I can only speak to the public library. School libraries have different policies. They function under different rules and different laws, and so I cannot speak to what happens with the FISD. Now, since
I'd like to,
yes,
not interrupt you, but to speak on that so we don't let it go. I reached out to you after all the news about the schools started coming out and asked you, and we, the library, go out of our way to protect our younger kids from accidentally stumbling across that.
Yes, we do.
And so, as a father of two girls, young girls, in Frisco, I appreciate that. I think it's a good policy, and it protects the First Amendment, people's right to access stuff, but it also makes sure that the people getting it
are aware of
what
what
they want it.
That's right.
They're looking for it, and most likely they are.
It's age appropriate.
Age appropriate. So
That's
I don't know if
right.
you want to touch on that a little bit, because I think this
Sure.
is a key part to
Of how we
we're
collect.
protecting our kids.
That's right. So one of the things we do as a public library, it's our responsibility to represent as many points of view on topics of the day as possible, so that citizens can gather from as many points of view to make their determinations on topics. And so when there are materials, educational materials of any kind, that might have items that might be considered controversial or where the public is divided on their opinions, we make sure we keep in mind the appropriate audience, and then we catalog those materials appropriately. So materials that are intended for an older audience are cataloged with the materials for older audiences. Materials that are intended for a young audience are cataloged appropriately. One of the things we do in particular that's unique to Frisco, and this is something we instituted a while back, we have a very large picture book collection. And we know sometimes parents don't want, when their children are browsing through a picture book collection, they don't want their child to pull up a book about grandpa's dead, or mom and dad are getting a divorce, or perhaps even where babies come from. But there is a place for those books, and parents want them. And so we've pulled books that are family issues or growing up books that parents do want. We've pulled them out, we've put them in a special collection we call Family Life, so parents know where to find them. They're in with the other children's collections, but separately, so a child doesn't just pull it out if a parent isn't prepared to talk about those issues with their child. So we try and do that throughout the collection because we are sensitive to the standards of the community. And so I hope that
Yes, it
is
is.
the kind of example you wanted.
I wanted everyone else to hear the explanation I did and the differences between the school district and a public library. And
That's
I
right.
think you've done a great job, you and your staff,
Thank you.
of making it available to people that need it, but also protecting our youth, and I appreciate that. And I know the citizens of Frisco do.
Yeah, now, one other thing I might mention, anyone under the age of 18, their parent must sign for them to get a library card. And in that parent's authorization for a minor to get a card, they are told straight up they are responsible for what their children select. We do not censor a child's selection. We don't stand between a parent and child on what a child can or cannot read. That is we absolutely respect a parent's choice to make those decisions. And so that's baked into the agreement when we issue library cards at the very beginning. So we want to make sure parents understand in no way are we trying to stand between them and what they want their children to have access to. So besides cataloging so that it's appropriate to the audience age, we also make sure that parents are very aware that we want them to be responsible for what their children select.
Well, thank you. This is a hot topic now. I want to give you credit for handling it well, so thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've got a couple of fun things on the menu for tonight. We've been working on something that we think is a fun way to introduce the new library to citizens, and that is one of the things that's most important about a community library is that it reflects the community, right? And so here in Frisco, we take a lot of pride in making sure that our community reflects the personality of Frisco and the needs of Frisco residents. And we spent a lot of time studying that, and we've designed the new library with that in mind. And so we've identified 6 typical library users, and you can see that those categories listed here. You can go online tonight and take the personality quiz and find out what % of the thinker you are and what % of the collaborator you are and the lounger. And what happens is, after you get the personality test, the floor plan will come up showing you where in the new library those types of services have been planned for you. And so you can see the types of spaces we've created for people who want a library that serves their collaborative nature, or people who want a very traditional, quiet, don't mess with me space, or people who want to be impressed by tech and robotics and maker spaces and production studios, or people who want to just come and have a remote office because they're sick and tired of staring at their own 4 walls at home. And that's the taking care of business person right there. Or the socializer, people who want to come and meet other people while they're learning or doing things. So you can see, and then there's just the person who wants to come and hang out. Kind of my favorite person there. But in any case, so that's the lounger. So I'm inviting you all to take the quiz, and after you've taken it, you'll get kind of a percentage score. It's in fun, but there are things behind it that cause us to score it the way it is. Excuse me. And then you will get maps of the library showing you how this library has been designed to meet the needs of the 6 major types of library users we see. So please, go onto the library's website. It should be on the banner. Even as I say these words, I think Emily is anxiously waiting to put it up. So it should be up in the next hour.
So what type of user are you?
You know what, now I forget.
Use all of them.
I'm probably not as techie as I wish I were. But, you know what? You know what, I need to go take the test and find out.
Next report.
I'll report after I take the test, how's that? Okay, we talked about the T-Rex this last month. We had over 2,000 submissions for names. After gleaning out names for copyright issues and that kind of thing, we narrowed them down to 4 or 5. The community has voted. In fact, they voted and narrowed it down to, 2,978 votes later, I am proud to announce the new Frisco T-Rex's name is Rexy. And so she got hands down, that name got hands down the most votes by quite a margin over the others. And so I'd like to introduce Rexy to you, the new Frisco Library T-Rex, and she will be front and center in our new library, and we are delighted to have her as part of our team. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have about the report or anything else that's happening at the library.
Well, I wasn't